How's that for a screw up? Something happened with my email. I couldn't get my friend Joe on. I'm 14 minutes late. It's just part of this day today. I know whenever I leave my house, when I get to the corner, if the light's red, it's going to be a bad day. Guess what color it was today? It was red. Anyway, we're 14 minutes late, but I'm on, and I'm going to bring my pal Joe on. How you doing, Joe?
Hey, Larry.
Sorry I had you sitting there waiting, but something happened where I don't understand it. I hit, when I invite a guest on, I hit the email, and my email comes right up, and I paste the link on. And today the email didn't come up.
This is the first time we ever had a problem. It's always
Yeah.
been 1, 2, 3.
That's because the light on the corner was red when I went to make a turn. It always happens. Anyway, we're on. Now, before I came on, when I was trying to figure all of this out, there was a lot of stuff here from. Let me just read this. I'm going to put it on the screen, so folks just hang on. I know I got a million calls. My friends called me that I wasn't on, but I'm on now. But I got these things here. Michael and Gracia. That has to be. Frank is my father's first cousin. We spent many of some, I guess, summers up in the bungalows in Monticello. Lived in Freehold for a while. We got close with them. Okay, Michael. Frank is my father's first cousin. Well, I'll tell you, I knew that whole family from the time I was a kid. And they're all good people, great guys, all of them. You knew them, right, Joe? The whole
I was dear friends with Ronnie, very close friends.
I was friends with all the brothers, the two twins, Frank and John.
Yeah, I knew them, but not like Ronnie
And
even Jackie.
Chicky had the junkyards. Okay, let's go to this one here, Michael, same guy. Also have very dear friend of yours that is one of my best friends. His name is Kelly Jones. I'm sure you know her. Kelly and I are in the horse business together for many years. Michael, we have to talk, Michael, about Kelly Jones. Oh boy. Somehow, I'm gonna give you my phone number if you listen in 201-400-3485. I give it out because I give it out every other week, and the whole world calls me. But anyway, send me a text. Send me your number, and I'll call you, and we'll talk about Kelly Jones. Let's go to the next road. As you know, Kelly got sick, but has made a full recovery. We're in the horse breeding business in Charlestown together, and with her dad over at Fairhill, as you know. I know it all. Michael. Okay, I know I'm chatting too much. I just want to let you know, big fan watching all the time. I'd love to talk to you over the phone like you and New York boy, Staten Island, out here in Tampa. Well, you got my number. Michael. And here's another one that you wrote. Would love to chat over the phone with you. Maybe sometime when you have time, we could talk. Have a great night, my friend. You too. Just send me your number. I sent you my number. Text me your phone number. Okay, Michael again. I remember the day in Tampa in the barn when Kelly bought the book. 2019, I think it was, and we loved the book. So she was so excited. Okay. And that's all from Michael. Okay. Joe.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. How you doing?
I'm
very happy this week, everybody. I guess you know why.
Yeah. I guess everybody knows that he voted for for Trump.
Everybody smart voted for Trump. Thank
Did
God.
you stay up all night? Did you stay
Of
up?
course.
You did? You were up all night until he made it? Yeah?
I saw the speech. Yes, I did. Hey, Larry, that's the day the world changed, whether you know it or not. He's gonna. That was the end of the United States if he didn't win, whether you believe it or not. That's the truth. That might have been the last election we ever had.
All right.
All right. I know you don't want to hear it.
Let me. No, I don't want to talk about the. I'm glad you won, and I just you know what it is. A very, very good friend. Two very, very good friends of mine are on the other side.
That's okay. I'm their
friend. I made it a point never to talk about it with them because there's no change in their mind ever, and I don't even try to get into it with them, and you know, and that's just the way it is, and it just amazes me that I'm still friendly with these two people that love Biden and love Kamala and you know, and yet I have friends and both sides are very intelligent people, and I don't even try to understand either side. It's better that I just stay neutral because I seen family members just hate one another, husbands and wives.
I know. I don't hold a grudge. I'm not mad at anybody. I don't go against anybody.
Hold on a minute. I got to answer this. Yeah, Jimmy.
Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm on now. The email wasn't working, so now I'm on. It's a real. I don't even want to say what it is, but anyway, I got to hang up. I'm on now. I'm on the
guy that's been ringing the bell.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you're outside.
Yeah, I'm right.
Oh, I heard the bell ring. I did. Oh, you come over. You thought I was died or something.
Yes.
Oh, this is my friend. Because we couldn't get it on. He lives about a mile away. Okay, buddy. And he actually got in his car and he drove here and he was ringing the bell, but I didn't go down because
go open the door for him.
Huh?
All right.
Were you still downstairs?
Yeah, I'm talking to Buddy through the door.
Well, I'll come down and open the door, and Joe will entertain the people.
We'll talk politics where you're going.
All right, goodbye. All right, Joe, entertain the folks while I go open the door for my pal.
Wow, I got the head billing. So anyway, it was a good week for the people who were for Trump, and for the people that weren't for Trump, God bless you. It's okay. I'm not mad. I'm not spiteful. I'm not nasty. I just think Trump is the right move for this country. I really believe that if he wasn't elected, it would have been the last election the United States ever had.
Yeah, your car.
I think we would have been a socialist country.
Oh, I just figured that out.
Thank God.
This is like a social club here.
All right, Larry, we talked politics while you were gone.
Okay.
All right.
I have later on. We're going to do this. I got a bunch of people on here that I want to get to.
Some guy wrote about 6, 7.
Yeah, that was Michael. We answered all of them.
Right.
That
you
was
got through that.
Yeah. All right. Now let me get back to this thing.
Joseph, congratulations on. I was rooting with you there on Donnie Boy.
All right, man. Larry, why don't you take a walk tonight? Me and him will take over.
Listen,
dog.
I
was up till 4 a.m. watching this.
Good man.
All right, you're gonna make everybody hang up here. You're gonna make everybody disconnect. I want to say a couple. Sit down.
I will. All right, you
sit down and relax.
I thought I was gonna find you fucking
no,
dead.
I'm all right. Okay.
I bought the paddles.
Now let me say this because a couple of people during the week called me, and a couple of people during the week text me. And a couple of people on this show asked me a couple of questions that I was helping a friend of mine who is in the thoroughbred business, and I'm not going to name the farm we're at. I'm not going to name the track we're at. I'm not going to name any trainers. I'm not going to name the names of horses. I'm not going to name anything. I'm just going to tell you that it's one of the smaller tracks, one of the smaller thoroughbred tracks in the country. And before he claimed a horse, what I should have done was do a little bit more research. I've been out of the game for 25 years now. And but you know, you don't forget what you know, but you don't know what you don't know. And I went right into, like I mentioned it about 2 weeks ago, I went into a racetrack that I called a few weeks ago a hospice track, where the bottom rung race. And to give you an example, they have, say, a 5,000 claimer. They have 5,000 claimers, 3-year-olds and up, non-winners of 3 races lifetime. Now, how could you have a 6, 7, 8-year-old that never won 2, 3 races lifetime? But they have them there. Them races fill. Non-winners of 1, non-winners of 2, non-winners of 3, all aged horses. It's just the bottom. Now, here's the part, and I want you to listen to this, Joe, because I want you in this discussion after I got done with my rant.
Oh, now you want me in your discussion. 5 minutes ago, you wanted to throw me off the TV.
No. You look like the Darth Vader. Anyway.
Oh, I got my Trump hat on.
So now, I see that. So now, what happened was my friend claimed a horse that I recommended. I recommended him based on his age and his class. 3-4 years ago, he was a fast, a good, classy horse, racing very, very well. And then the following year, a little worse. The following year, a little worse. And this year, very bad. So in my mind, and I know I spoke to you about this, that in the standardbred business and in the thoroughbred business, but you're in the standardbred business, we used to at least 4, 5, 6 horses a year I would race right out of the fields, as I know that you did too. And you were leading trainer you were leading trainer for 10 years. I was doing my thing, and they, for whatever reason, whether they were sour or I would race them right out of the field and win. It was just like therapy, and it was like a revolving door with me from the stall to the path. Okay. So I thought, and back then in the 70s, when I was doing it, in the 60s and 70s when I was doing it, the biggest pre-race would be, it would be a big deal if you got B15 from Canada. Like, that was the main stimulant. And if you got it and it came in red, that was like the super one. Yeah. And that's all you had to worry about. And maybe a little baking soda, but baking soda, nobody really knew what it did back then except Pelling. When the father first came up from Australia, he came into my barn and he educated me on this baking soda thing. But back then, the only pre-race was then all of a sudden cortisone was invented, came into the play, and then everything else. So,
Larry, excuse me, can you make the screen a little bigger?
Yeah, let me see. How about that?
That's better.
Okay. All right. Now I got to turn this down. All right. So now I got to get rid of this thing here. Okay. So now when we were in the business, we knew everybody. We knew the good guys, the bad guys, the drug guys, we knew everybody. And what they did,
every horse, every trainer, everybody.
Right. Now, I go into this business just knowing what I know, forgetting that it's been 30 years, 25 years since I've been involved in anything. And what I got into was a mess. I thought that I could go to this racetrack, which is basically a graveyard, and claim an old classy horse and just get him off the racetrack. Hold on a minute. This guy called 15 times. Hello.
Hello, I'm watching Larry. How's he doing?
I can't talk to you now. I'm on a podcast.
Okay.
Some whack job. He called me 15 times. This guy left me a bunch of messages. I hope he calls back later. I got to call him. But it's a private number, so I can't even call him. So anyway, so now I claim this horse from a graveyard, figuring that, oh boy, he's at the bottom of the barrel and this and that, and all I have to do is take him, and I started him right away on GastroGuard right away, because he has to have ulcers.
Yeah.
Then I wormed him, and then I rehydrated him. He was dehydrated. We did everything we had to do. Then I find out, this is all on the first day we do all. Then I find out I pull his back shoes off immediately, because one was, you could tell that the nails were way down low. One you couldn't even find, which meant it was someplace in the live part of the foot. So I pulled the shoe right back off. Both back shoes, looked at both front shoes. So to make a long story real short, the horse wound up with a beginning of a quarter crack, a heel separation, a wall separation, and he was quicked in 2 feet. Put Ian McKinley come down to help me out, and we patched all the cracks, we patched the separations,
Rebuilt everything.
on. This horse was like a brand new horse, and we turned him out. I turned him out every single day. After the third day, and by the way, the first 2 days he didn't eat, he didn't drink, he didn't do nothing. By the third day, he was coming around. By the fifth day, he was on his hind legs walking to the paddock. Turned him out in the paddock. He loved it. Ran for 20 minutes back and forth. He was, we fixed his feet, which were the main problem with him. Taking care of the ulcers, got rid of all the worms, and fixed the ulcers in his mouth, and injected his back end. Very, very bad behind. After about a week, he's taking me out to the paddock on his hind legs, screaming and yelling and everything. And he's a big, big horse. 1,200 pounds he has to be. He's a gigantic horse, beautiful horse. Now he's coming around, and I'm saying, oh my God. Now I'm thinking like the old days. This horse's form is terrible. I'm going to, for first race, I'm going to put him in. I'm going to bet a couple of thousand on him, and I'll pay for the horse. So anyway, I'm very happy. So about the 6th day, I get a hold of the exercise rider. And I said, listen, I says, we're going to have to take him to the track. I try to keep him away from the track as much as possible. I didn't even want him to see a saddle. I didn't want him to see a bridle. I didn't want him to see nothing. So, but now he's running around in the field. He's going crazy, and I didn't want him to get hurt. So I give the exercise. I tell the exercise, just jog him a couple of miles, see how he is, see if he feels all right, turn him, gallop him one. Just get a little of piss and vinegar out of him. He's really feeling good. And that's what we did. So a couple of miles on the track every day, 6-7 hours out in the paddock. He's eating 4 quarts 3 times a day of the best horse feed we can get. He's 100% sound. All his feet are good. The separations are everything is perfect. And he's drinking, from not drinking anything, he's drinking 2 pails, almost 4 pails of water, 2 pails of water out there in the paddock every day, and they're empty by the time we bring him in. And then 2 full pails. So he's drinking plenty. He's in real good shape. Now I go to put him in, and he runs short. His best numbers are short, 6.5, 7 furlongs. There's no race, but if he don't race within a day or 2, I got to ship him to the track. I got to work him for the judges. So I says to the owner, who's my friend. I said, listen, I said, let's just put him in this race. It's double the distance he's used to, but at least, and I'll talk to the jockey. Don't abuse him. If you go, naturally, if you could win, but don't abuse him. And then in 20 days later, there's his distance, and then we'll put him in that. Okay, great. We put him in the race. And here's a horse that every race, he never finishes well, but he comes out of the gate like a rocket. And then he fades and he fades and he fades. And other people tried different distances. Nothing seemed to work. He hasn't won a race. He hasn't won a race this year, and he raced probably 18, 20 times. So we put him into race, and he walks out of the gate. Walks around a race, don't even try. He don't even try. Now, that to me is mind-boggling. How could that possibly be? So after the race, I sat there in shock. I didn't expect him to win, but I expect him to go at least a half a mile right on the lead and, in hand, and then
something, yeah.
fade, if anything, and if not, maybe go the whole way. I watched him out of the gate. He never left. He never did. Yeah, he stumbled out of the gate. He got pinched a little. But that's all bullshit excuses. He never tried. And I'm sitting there thinking, and my friend, the owner, comes in, and and I have no answers. I have no answers. So I'm trying to think. Now I have to go back 25, 30 years, that when I used to do this, because I have no answers for this. You got a horse that was dehydrated, that was lame, that was all screwed up, loaded with ulcers. You fixed everything. He's on his hind legs, eats like crazy on his hind. In the paddock, he runs for 20 minutes before he calms down. And then he rolls and jumps and yells and screams and happy. And then in a race, he walks around a racetrack.
Refuses to try.
I'm sitting there thinking, and there's a couple of things that come to my mind. And the first thing is that you'll know about. The last year I was in the business, Epigen just came about. And the big guys that got the Epigen, they had the same vets that injected the Epigen, checked the blood at the end of every week to make sure that they weren't overloading them so the blood don't turn to slush. There's no chance of clots or heart attacks or anything. But the smaller guys at the smaller racetracks, whenever they can get their hold of it, because it was expensive, then instead of giving them, they would give them 10,000 units at a time instead of 2 and 2 and 2. They would just do whatever they thought had to be done, and they would blast them with it. And they won races. It did work for the most part. And then when they couldn't continue giving it like the wealthier guys, these horses basically crashed. They just crashed. And through regular B12 and iron shots and everything, they eventually got the blood levels up to where they're low normal, but the horse was still just like a dead meat. Just wouldn't go. So now I'm thinking that this horse must be on Epigen. So I says, I have to catch up. It's been 25 years. I don't know what's out there. And so I got a hold of two jockey agents, both good friends. One was doing it for 50 years, basically retired, knows everybody down in that area where I am, down in South Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, that whole area. The other one is a top agent, very, very successful. I'm not going to mention either one of their names. Knows every jockey, and he has a couple of good. He represents a couple of good ones, including the Bug. And then I got a hold of one of the top trainers that they introduced me to as like a brother, and to level with me, and they did. And the three of us sat down for hours today,
Did you know these guys prior, Larry? These
I knew two of them. I knew one for 55 years. I knew
okay.
one for 30 years, and their friend, the trainer, I just met. But
They
he
must have been happy to see you.
he talked to me like because they said that I'm okay, you know, because they were going to divulge a lot of stuff, and they take out their laptop and they show me this particular horse. I'm not going to name the horse, and they go all the way back to his first start, and then they go to the trainer and the jockey, and I'm not going to mention any names. And all I heard was machine, machine, epigen, epigen, machine, machine, epigen, machine, machine, epigen, epigen, epigen. And I'm saying, oh my God, this is what I missed. Because after I left the game, they started with the whole synthetic drug phenomenon. I mean, it's unbelievable, because I remember when I left, they had no tests for Epigen, and they asked the manufacturer of Epigen to put a tracer in it so they could find it.
Right.
And they did. And that's when the synthetic stuff started.
Right.
I was out of the game. I was in Vegas having a ball. I was all over the place. Now, 25 years later, I get involved with this guy who's now my friend. And I'm telling him how much I know and how great I am and how many horses I fixed up and how many horses this and that. And I says, if we go to these cheap racetracks and claim some of these, because I don't want no 2-year-olds, I'm too old for that. I love the claiming game. Just get old, broken down horses. We'll go to a farm that has a swimming pool, saltwater therapy, paddocks, and a racetrack. We'll clean up. That's the way I'm thinking. And I'm sure you thought of, not only did you think about that, you did it. And you leading trainer 10 different meets. Anyway.
Not with Epigen, Larry.
No. I know not with Epigen.
Matter of fact, I had an owner that had a connection in the hospital. He used to bring me bags of Epigen. I'm talking big, hefty bags of Epigen. You know, the big in the sandwich bags?
Yeah.
And he used to bring it to me every week. And he used to say, here, Joe, here, Joe. He thought that was the reason I was winning. I never used one vial. What I used to do, I had 30, 40 horses at the time. And I could mention this now, but so everybody knows. I gave the bag to Dr. Grasso. I said, here, Doc, do whatever you want to do with it. I know everybody's using it. I'm not using it. He did all my vet work for free. That's how much I gave him. I had 30, 40 horses. He never gave me a vet bill. I just gave it to him. I says, here's your pay. And he made a fortune, but I didn't care.
All right, let me finish.
I'll let you finish.
Okay. But that was good that you said that. Okay. Yeah. So now I'm thinking, what a mistake I made. I mentioned 3 weeks ago that this track that we were racing at and claiming off of, I mentioned it right on the podcast, so you can go back and listen. I called it a hospice track, because every horse there, they start out at Belmont and Santa Anita and this and that, and all of a sudden every year down. And during this time, in the 80s and 90s and 2000, everything went from abusing the original synthetic Epigen, because Epigen is made naturally in the body by the kidneys, and then some company manufactured it. Now they're making synthetics. They're doing, and I wrote down a couple of things that I learned today, and as they were telling me this, I was writing it down, that it's like a synthetic phenomenon, that synthetic drugs, what they do is they copy what the effects of the legal but illegal drugs are doing, but they create different chemical structures, and then they keep changing them constantly. So once one comes up positive, they change the structure again, and they could, the bad guys will always be one step ahead. And the worst part is that for these things. There's no research on them, and there's it's just terrible. I'm finding all of this out today. Then I'm finding out that at these smaller tracks, to make these horses go, aside from the synthetic stuff that they're using, because now every drug, there's a synthetic for every drug, which makes it a whole lot cheaper, where everything is it's out there. I find out that at these smaller tracks, many of these guys are using synthetic epigen. They're using shock therapy. They're using machines. They're using things that you can't believe. This is at the smaller tracks, and these poor horses got to live through. So now what I did was I claimed one of them, and just like I said before, I fixed this horse up like he was brand new. Me and Ian McKinley spent 3 hours. By the way, he said to say hello. And by the way,
I'd love to speak to him.
he gave me the same story that you gave me about Christian and everything else. And when he got to the point where he started to really get filled up, he almost started crying. That's how much he believed, because I asked him 1 or 2 questions. I said, I'm sorry, that's enough. I said, go home, go to your other appointment, and that's it. But I don't want to get away from this story. So now I have this horse. So now I need answers, because that's just how I am. I have to know why this horse walked around the track. And if I walk him to the field, he's on his hind legs and dragging me, running. Turn him out in the field, he'd be a world champion. On the racetrack, he walked around just like a hobby horse. Now I got to figure this out. So that's why today I made all the phone calls. I met them all this afternoon, and we went through the whole thing. And that's just what I told you. Now I have to go one by one. The first thing I have to figure out, and this is going to sound crazy and it's going to sound stupid, but I spoke to because as I was leaving today, the veterinarian come in, because I told her, make sure you're here the day after the race, because I want to give him a couple of jugs and some vitamins and stuff. So she came, and I says, no, the horse is not here. And she says, why? And this is what I told him. I says, because 1 of 3 things happened to this horse. And the first thing is he's just a vacuum inside. Everything, nothing works anymore. The vein on the left side that you always use, it's like it's collapsed. It's like leather. You can't even get in. You see all the lumps and bumps and everything.
Scar tissue.
A lot of traffic going on there in a bunch of years. So I says I have to find out if it was the effects of maybe short or long-term epigen, because I took his blood, and his blood was normal, but on the low side of normal. In other words, if 7 to 11 million was normal red count, his at 7. So we gave him some blood shots and everything else, and I never rechecked it after that, because he start eating, start looking good and everything else. So now I says to the owner, I says, listen, I says the first thing, and he suggested it. He suggested, he says, because I was completely baffled. And he says, maybe he's spending too much time in the paddock, because I leave him in the paddock 6, 7, 8 hours, and he was having a ball. And when you went to go get him, he don't want to come in. He can't wait to get out there. I was feeding him out there, throwing him alfalfa and everything out there. He didn't want. And
is he a horse that's active all the time in the paddock, or he calms down after a while?
No, after a while he calms down and he just keeps eating grass. And the good thing about these paddocks is they're one right next to him, so he's always playing with the other horse, running up and down and everything else. So he's active when there's other horses there. When he's alone, he calms down and eats grass. He was just feeling great. That's why it's puzzling. But now I got to find out the reason, because if the reason is that and you know, and I know that a horse that's been on Epigen, once he's off it, that they basically become sponges. They basically become non-entities. They waste away. They don't race. You could take the best care of them. They just don't ever come back. I got to figure out if that's it. I got to figure out if maybe they're abusing this horse with prods and stuff like that, which is what I heard through my friends that some of these trainers do. And the standardbreds too. I mean, some of the guys at the smaller tracks, they go in there with these 10,000 volts, these hot shots, these cattle prods. They go in there with chains and burlap bags and hit them up against the wall and everything else. It's terrible, but it's done.
I gave a lot of guy beatings for that when I caught them doing that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Good
but
for you,
but in the meantime,
I put them against the wall and I told them, if I ever catch you again, I'm going to break your neck next time. I can't stand that abuse.
So now, but it's being done. So now I got to try to figure out about this horse. So I talk with the owner, my friend, and I says, you know what? The first thing we're going to do is the easiest thing. And he suggested it. He says maybe he's too much in the field. Maybe he thinks that racing is over now. Maybe he thinks he's retired and that's it, because he's been out there for almost 30 days. And when he first started that, I wanted to say, do me a favor, just keep your mouth shut. I've been doing this 60 years. In the meantime, he come up with something that's fair. And then I start thinking about it, and I says,
Makes sense. Maybe he's smarter than us.
You're right.
The horse is smarter than you.
Yeah. So what I said then, I says, listen, you know what we're going to do? We can't get him any sounder. We fixed all his ails. He's hydrated. Everything is perfect. He can't be any better than what he is right now. We're going to send him back to the racetrack on a stall on a racetrack. I'll give him to my friend and tell him to put him on a regular training schedule. In 20 days, there's a race for him, a distance that he belongs, and we'll see. If he races good and wins, then we know that was it. If he does the same thing, then
we're in trouble.
Then we're in trouble. Then it's one of the other two things, which in my opinion, I retire the horse, because I'm not giving him no Epigen. I'm not getting into that stuff at this point in my life. No. Especially because it's illegal, and this horse is under my friend's name as trainer, and he wouldn't want this anyway.
Give him 3 or 4 races. If he don't do good, donate him to some young kid or something.
Yeah, well, they
disabled children foundations.
Yeah, there's a thing right at the farm we're at where they take care of all. It's nice what they do. They take
veterans,
so now
and stuff like that.
And here's what I wanted to say. I wanted to say I was really going to come down on ISA, because ISA, it depends who you talk to. When you talk to the top trainers that have a big stable and real good horses, ISA really put a crimp on their ability to help a horse recover after a race. You can't. The first call I made after that race, I called the veterinarian, the big veterinarian company that I deal with down there. And I says, I just need one question answered. Can I give a horse that's racing, how many days out can I give any kind of steroid? Can I give equipoise? Can I give Winstrol? Can I give water-based testosterone that's out of their system in 3-4 days? You know what their answer was? Nothing. Nothing at all at any time, whether it's 6 months out or what. And that's when I made the decision to send him back to the track. Yeah. Because now you can't. And I was going to come down on Heisa, but I'll tell you, after seeing these things, after seeing what I'm seeing, Heisa still don't know what the hell they're doing. And I was a little encouraged by this letter, because the Horsemen's Associations are working with Heisa now, and they're getting a couple of rules changed. for the better, and a couple of these suspensions, these 2-year suspensions over minute stuff. They're eliminating a lot of that stuff. The problem is it has to be approved first by the Federal Trade Commission, who are a bunch of politicians in Washington that never saw a horse in their life, but they're going to okay it right away. It's just a formality, and then they're gonna come back, and then it has to be approved by the racing medication and testing. That's the RMTC, I think it is. So they're trying to correct a lot of the wrong things, and finally the horsemen are on them, and I hope they correct a lot of them. But so I'm not going to come down on them too bad, because they're trying to make the right changes. And after what I've seen today and what I've learned today, it's really, really disgusting that there's probably 1,000 horses that race at this racetrack that is probably stable there.
They get abused.
They're shells. They're just, they start off, and you could see through their, especially if you get the Ragusan sheets, you can see they start off at Belmont and Aqueduct or the better tracks, and every year they get worse and worse. And you know that every trainer is looking for an edge, and you know that everybody was using, each year it's a different drug that they're using. And then when they found tests for all these drugs, they went into all the synthesizer stuff, all the synthetic stuff.
Synthetics, yeah.
And they're never gonna. One guy's gonna get caught. They're gonna figure out that they got to test for it. And the bigger trainers have their own block box. They know just what limit to give.
Yeah, they got their own labs. These big stables. They got their own laboratories. They're way ahead of everybody.
I'm not gonna come down on them too hard. I'm only hoping that they talk with the horsemen a lot and stop a lot of these ridiculous things. So I made up. I just did it now. That's why I come on late. And then when I come on 10 minutes, when I tell you I was going to call you, my email thing wasn't working. So because I wrote this, and these are the only questions I want to ask them pertaining to, because they're there to save the horse and help the integrity of racing. That's what they're supposed to be doing. They don't know how to do either one, but thank God the Horsemen's Association is starting to get involved, and they're starting to realize. I think they're getting scared. I think they realize now that we realize that they don't know what the hell they're doing, and they're ruining a lot of lives and hurting a lot of horses. But these, I probably have 100 questions I have to ask, but I just wrote these down real quick, and I'm going to read it. And this is, I would just like to ask these questions to Lisa and to Ben Moshe, who is the executive director of Horse Racing Integrity and Welfare Unit, which is part of Horse Racing Integrity and Safety. Hi, sir. So here's what I would like to ask him. I'm gonna.
Do you feel, before you ask, Larry, do you feel that their heart is into it? They're doing it for the animals, or they're doing it because it's a political job that they got? They care.
I don't know. I can't get into their head, but I do know that I looked into the background of a lot of these people, and they're experts in all this medicine and all the drugs and all of this, and some of them even are attorneys that representing athletes that were accused of doing drugs. So they're well aware of all of that, but never had anything to do with horses. And the reason I think this happened was because these horses are dying like crazy, and they're dying of heart attacks, they're dying of broken limbs, they're dying of everything. And I guarantee you that the main reason is because of all these synthetic drugs that are causing these things to happen. That people don't realize that every drug has a side effect, and Epigen and that now they have injectable baking soda. Now you don't even need to tube a horse. Now they have injectable stuff. They have synthetic everything. Nobody knows the side effects. Nobody knows anything, and they're giving it to these boys. And then where do they wind up? They wind up right where I am. the worst horses in the world. You look at these horses and you just want to get sick. On the races that are a mile and they're stretched out a quarter of a mile or on the wrong lead, losing action and everything. It's really sickening to watch. And I got to think about continuing this. But anyway, here's some of the questions I would like to ask. Assuming I was at Belmont Park, where at least it's somewhat legit and there's some decent horses there, I would like to ask Heisa, why can't you give GastroGuard right up to the day of the race? Why do you have to stop 2 days? It makes absolutely no sense. This is something that will definitely help a horse. How would you like to go into say you had to go into a fight, you were a fighter, or even if you had to go out on a date, you had to go dancing with a beautiful girl, and you had some Mexican food and you had heartburn.
Yeah, agita.
And it was so bad and you couldn't take Tums or you couldn't take anything for 2 days, and you had to go to that date with heartburn. Basically, that's what that might be a bad analogy, but that's what it's like.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
But doesn't Heisen know that 99% of the horses got ulcers by the time they're 2 years old, 3 years old? Don't they know that?
How would they know? They
Well,
don't.
It's common sense. I mean, everybody knows that.
The time they get them, the time they're weaned, 6 months old, they develop an ulcer.
That's what I said, but
You
by
ever
the time
seen
they're
one
2 and
get
3,
separated from the mother? They start screaming and yelling, and that's when it starts. Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask is, say I got Doc, because now your veterinarian has to be approved by ISA. They have to sign up. So could I put this blanket on him while he's in the stall? When is he in the go? When's he in the go? It's a fucking blanket with magnets in it. What's the difference? If I know that there's magnets in that blanket and he's racing tomorrow, I'd have to scratch him. It's unbelievable. Okay, so I just want to know why. Okay, why can't you inject the joint and race him within a week? Why do you have to wait 2 or 3 weeks, whatever the rule is? Why? I just don't understand it. You inject the joint. I don't care what you inject it with. In 2-3 days, the body itself changes all the fluids inside the joint and everything else. Everything has changed. So whatever is going to be accomplished is accomplished in the first 2 or 3 days. And then I don't even know how they detect it, but they say it got to be 2 or 3 weeks. I want to know. I want to know why.
It defeats the purpose.
Now I want to know why no steroids at any time while a horse is racing. I asked them. That was one of the questions. I think I mentioned it before, because one of the things I was going to do with this horse, if I was gonna being he can't go in the paddock no more,
Give them some equipoise.
let's just give him some equipoise, give him some Winstrol, give him something. They said never in the horse's racing life he can have any steroid at all. Why? It's okay. Now, what about how would they like to have? How would one of these people here that made the rules, this Lisa and Ben, how would they like to be the owner of a mare? Let's make believe they own a nice mare that's racing for $2 million has maybe $2 million worth of stake races, and the first $1 million. Well, let's make it even better. Let's say they're racing in Dubai for $7 million, and they ship to Dubai, and the rule in Dubai is the same rule as here, because a lot of horses from America go there, so they adapted the same rules. No steroids for any horse racing in this $7 million race. And the mare ships over there, and she's in heat. And when she's in heat, she pins her ears and pisses on you and won't run a lick. but she's the favorite in a $7 million race. But you can't give her anything to get her out of heat. How would they like that if they own that horse? Would they want to change the rules? Wouldn't it be sad? But that's what happens in this country here. You can't give a mare any steroid or anything to get her out of heat, even if in 2 days she's racing for $1 million. Why? Okay.
It's
Here's
totally wrong.
No, why no grabs? Why no grabs? Don't they realize that slipping and sliding is sometimes worse than stabbing and stopping short, or maybe equal? They're both detrimental to the horse. And why aren't all racetracks don't have the same cushion, same surface? Why don't they have the same surface and the same cushion? Why is one track 3.5-inch cushion, next track is 4, next track is 5, next track is 6, 6.5? Why? Why some racetracks the turns are banked, some they're not banked? Why? If you're looking to protect the horse, I talked about this before. And why are all synthetic tracks 2 inches? Why does a horse have to race on 4 inches of dirt? Why? I mentioned this about 3 weeks ago. Nobody has given me an answer. I want some thoroughbred guy or some scientist or some university to tell me why thoroughbreds have to race on 4 inches. We'll say 4 inches because it goes from 3.5 to 6. We'll say 4 inches. Why does a thoroughbred have to race on 4 inches of dirt? Why? I just need to know a reason. And then why are synthetic tracks only 2 inches deep? You got to make things uniform. If you're looking to protect the horse, you got to make things uniform. So these are the questions I'd like to ask. And I guarantee you that if I ever got this Lisa on the phone, I don't think she could answer one of these questions and give a good answer. I mean, how is she going to say, well, I don't think you should give Gastrogard because why? It's like taking the thumb. Why?
Yeah.
So anyway, these are the things that I would ask, and I have a whole lot more, but I had to get you on the phone, which I screwed that up. I screwed that up too. Anyway, do you agree with things that I said? Do you agree? You understand what the
Of
third?
course I agree. I mean, you got to maintain